I wasn't snooping. That's the first thing I need to make clear. I wasn't going through Rachel's things looking for dirt. I wasn't suspicious. I wasn't that guy. We'd been married for 11 years. We had 2 kids. We had a mortgage and a minivan and a shared checking account that paid for everything from groceries to vacation rentals. I found the statement by accident. It was a Tuesday afternoon. I was home early from work, client meeting got canceled, and I was looking for the property tax bill. Rachel usually filed it in the drawer of her desk in the home office. I opened the drawer, folders, receipts, old birthday cards from the kids, and then, underneath everything, a bank statement from Silverton Savings. We didn't bank with Silverton Savings. We banked with First Union. We'd been with First Union since before we got married. I pulled out the statement. Account holder, Rachel Wilder. My wife had kept her maiden name professionally but used Monroe everywhere else. Seeing Wilder felt strange, like looking at a stranger's mail. Current balance, $168,000. I read it 3 times. The number didn't change. There were transactions listed. Monthly deposits, $2,000. Always on the first of the month. Always the same amount. Going back as far as the statement showed, which was 2 years. But at the top, under account opened, it said 7 years ago. My hands were shaking. I did the math in my head. $2,000 a month for 7 years. That was $168,000. It matched the balance exactly. Every dollar she deposited was still sitting there. She hadn't spent any of it. I sat down in her desk chair. My mind was racing. Where was the money coming from? We had a joint account. I knew what went in and what went out. Rachel worked part-time as a freelance graphic designer, but her income went straight into our joint checking. We'd set it up that way years ago, so everything was transparent, so we could manage the household together. But this account, this was separate, hidden. I heard the front door open. Rachel's voice called out from downstairs. Ben, you home? I shoved the statement back into the drawer and closed it. Yeah, I called back. Upstairs. I heard her footsteps on the stairs. She appeared in the doorway, holding 2 grocery bags. Her hair was pulled back in a ponytail. She looked tired. Client meeting got canceled, I said. Came home early. Lucky you, she said, smiling. Can you help me with these? I took the bags from her. We went downstairs. I unloaded groceries. She talked about her day, something about a difficult client, a logo redesign, deadlines. I wasn't really listening. All I could think about was the number, $168,000. I waited until the kids were asleep. Sophie was 9. Max was 7. Bedtime was a ritual. Stories, water, tucked in blankets, goodnight kisses. Rachel handled Sophie. I handled Max. We met in the hallway afterward, exhausted, and went downstairs to collapse on the couch like we did every night. Except tonight, I didn't collapse. We need to talk, I said. Rachel looked up from her phone. About what? I found a bank statement in your desk. Silverton Savings. She went very still. Her face didn't change, but something in her eyes shifted. Not panic, not guilt, just awareness. Okay, she said quietly. Okay, that's it? What do you want me to say? I want you to explain why you have a secret bank account with $168,000 in it. She set her phone down on the coffee table. She looked at me for a long moment. I was going to tell you. When? I don't know, she admitted. I kept waiting for the right time. 7 years, Rachel. You've been hiding this for 7 years. I wasn't hiding it, she said. I was protecting it. From what? From me? No, from complications. I felt my chest tighten. Where's the money coming from? She hesitated. That's complicated too. Try me. She stood up, walked to the window, looked out at the dark street. When she finally spoke, her voice was calm. Too calm. Do you remember when we got married? When we talked about finances? Yeah, we agreed to share everything. We did, she said. And we have. But there was something I never told you. Something I inherited. Inherited from who? My uncle, Gerald. He died a few months before we met. He left me money, a trust. It pays out $2,000 a month. I stared at her. Why would you hide that? Because it came with conditions, she said. Conditions I didn't want to explain. What kind of conditions? She turned to face me. Ben, before I tell you this, I need you to understand something. I love you. I love our life. I love our kids. What I'm about to tell you doesn't change any of that. My stomach dropped. What are you talking about? You need to meet someone first, she said. The next morning, Rachel called in sick to her freelance job. I took a personal day. We dropped the kids off at Rachel's mom's house, told her we needed to take care of something, and then we got in the car. Where are we going? I asked. East, she said. About 2 hours. Rachel, just tell me what's going on. I will, she said. But it's better if you see it. We drove in silence. I had 1,000 questions, but I didn't know where to start. Rachel stared out the window. window, her hands folded in her lap. She looked nervous. I'd never seen her nervous like this. We left the city. The landscape shifted to small towns, then farmland, then nothing. Just highway and trees, and the occasional gas station. After 90 minutes, Rachel told me to take an exit. We turned onto a narrow road that wound through thick woods. No houses, no signs, just trees and shadows. Where are we? I asked. Almost there. Another 10 minutes. Then, up ahead, I saw a break in the trees. A driveway. Rachel pointed. Turn here. I turned. The driveway was gravel, long, winding. It opened into a clearing. In the center of the clearing was a house. It wasn't a mansion. It wasn't fancy. It was just a house. 2 stories, white siding, a wraparound porch. Old but well-maintained. There was a garden in the front yard, a swing hanging from a tree. A woman was standing on the porch. She was maybe 60, gray hair, wearing jeans and a flannel shirt. She waved when she saw us. Rachel waved back. Who is that? I asked. Her name is Diane, Rachel said. She's my Uncle Gerald's wife. I didn't know Gerald was married. He wasn't, Rachel said. Not legally. We got out of the car. Diane walked down the porch steps to meet us. She smiled at Rachel, then looked at me. You must be Ben, she said. I am, I said, shaking her hand. Nice to meet you. Rachel's told me a lot about you over the years, Diane said. I'm glad you're finally here. I looked at Rachel. Years? Rachel nodded. I'll explain inside. The inside of the house was warm and lived in. Worn furniture, photos on the walls, a wood stove in the corner. Diane made tea. We sat at the kitchen table. Gerald was my mother's brother. Rachel started. He was always kind of a mystery in our family. He never married, never had kids. He lived out here by himself, or so we thought. Diane poured the tea. We met 30 years ago, she said. I was married, unhappily. Gerald and I became friends, then more than friends. But I couldn't leave my husband. He was difficult, controlling. I had 2 kids. I couldn't risk losing them. So you and Gerald stayed secret, I said. For 20 years, Diane said. He bought this house for me. I'd come here on weekends, tell my husband I was visiting my sister. Gerald and I built a life here, a quiet one, but it was ours. When did your husband find out? Rachel asked. He never did, Diane said. He died 15 years ago. Heart attack. By then, my kids were grown. I thought Gerald and I could finally be open, but what? I asked. Gerald got sick, Rachel said. Lung issues. He didn't have long, and he was worried about Diane. She didn't have much savings. Her husband had left her almost nothing, so Gerald set up the trust. For you, I said to Rachel. Partially, Rachel said. Gerald left me the trust, but the terms were clear. $2,000 a month goes to me, but I have to transfer it to Diane. It's how he made sure she'd be taken care of after he died. I looked at Diane. Why didn't he just leave the money directly to you? Because his family would have contested it, Diane said. They didn't know I existed. If Gerald had named me in the will, they would have fought it. They would have dug into my life, exposed the affair, dragged my kids through it. Gerald didn't want that. So he left the money to Rachel and trusted her to pass it along. And you did? I said to Rachel. Every month, she said, for 7 years. I sat back in my chair. Why didn't you tell me? Because it wasn't my secret to tell, Rachel said. It was Diane's and Gerald's. If I'd told you about the trust, you would have asked questions. You would have wanted to know why I was sending money to a stranger. And I couldn't explain without outing Diane, without breaking Gerald's trust. I would have understood, I said. Would you? Rachel asked. 7 years ago, we were newlyweds. We were struggling to pay rent. We had student loans, and I was sitting on $2,000 a month that I couldn't touch. Do you really think you wouldn't have questioned it? I didn't answer. Diane set down her tea. I told Rachel to tell you, many times, but she was protecting me. She didn't want to put me in a position where I had to explain my past. And the $168,000? I asked. The balance in the account? That's mine, Rachel said. Technically, Gerald's trust pays out $2,000 a month for 30 years. I've been transferring it to Diane every month, but I've also been saving my own money, separate from our joint account, a little here and there, freelance bonuses, birthday checks from my parents. I've been putting it into the Silverton account. Why? Because I wanted something that was just mine, she said quietly. Not for anything bad, just a safety net, something I controlled. I felt like the floor was tilting. You didn't trust me. That's not what this is, Rachel said. Ben, I love you. I trust you. But I also watched my mom struggle financially after my dad left. I watched her scramble to pay bills, to keep the house, to hold everything together, and I swore I'd never be in that position. So I saved, quietly, separately, not because I thought you'd leave, but because I wanted to know that if something happened, if you got sick, if you lost your job, if we needed an emergency cushion, I could handle it. And you didn't think I could? I thought we could, she said, together. But I also wanted to be prepared on my own. I looked at Diane. She was watching us with a sad, knowing expression. Marriage is complicated, she said. You share everything, but you also need something that's yours. A piece of yourself that doesn't belong to anyone else. That doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you human. We left Diane's house an hour later. Rachel hugged her goodbye, promised to visit soon. We got back in the car. Neither of us spoke for the first 20 minutes. I just drove, my hands tight on the wheel, my mind spinning. Finally, I said, I feel like I don't know you. Yes, you do, Rachel said. You know everything about me, the important things. This was just one piece I kept separate, a $168,000 piece. It's not about the money, she said. It's about control. It's about knowing I had options if I needed them. What does that say about us? About our marriage? She turned to look at me. It says I'm careful. It says I plan for the worst even when things are good. But it doesn't say I don't love you. It doesn't say I don't trust you. It feels like it does. Then I'm sorry, she said. I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner. I'm sorry you had to find out this way. But I'm not sorry I saved the money. And I'm not sorry I helped Diane. I didn't respond. We drove in silence for another hour. When we finally pulled into our driveway, the sun was setting. The house looked the same as always. Same mailbox, same front door, same life. But something had shifted. Rachel got out of the car. I stayed in the driver's seat. She opened my door. Ben, come inside. I need a minute. Take your time, she said, and she went inside. I sat in the driveway for 20 minutes. Then I went inside. Rachel was in the kitchen, making dinner. Something simple. Pasta, sauce, garlic bread. The kids would be home soon. We had to act normal. I have a question, I said. She turned. Okay, if something happened to me tomorrow, if I died, would you use that money to take care of the kids? Of course, she said immediately. Then why not tell me it exists? Why not let me know we have a backup plan? Because I didn't want you to rely on it, she said. I didn't want it to become part of our regular budget. I wanted it to stay separate, untouched, a true emergency fund. And you didn't think I could handle knowing about it without touching it? I didn't know, she admitted, and I didn't want to find out, so I kept it quiet. That's not trust, I said. Maybe not, she said. But it's survival, and sometimes those two things don't line up perfectly. I leaned against the counter. What else haven't you told me? Nothing, she said. I swear, this was it. The only secret. How do I know that? Because I'm telling you now, she said. I could have kept lying. I could have said the account was from a work bonus or a legal settlement or anything else. But I didn't. I brought you to Diane. I showed you the truth. Only because I found the statement. True, she said. But I still told you. That has to count for something. I didn't know if it did. That night, after the kids went to bed, Rachel and I sat on the couch again. Same spot as the night before. But everything felt different. I've been thinking, Rachel said, about what you said, about trust. And you're right. I should have told you. Not at the beginning, maybe, but at some point, after we bought the house, after the kids were born, at some point, I should have sat you down and explained everything. Why didn't you? Because I was scared, she said. Scared you'd be angry. Scared you'd think I was planning for divorce. Scared you'd see it as me not believing in us. That's exactly what it feels like, I said. I know, she said, and I'm sorry, but I need you to understand something. This isn't about you failing. It's about me not wanting to fail. It's about me growing up watching my mom lose everything and deciding I wouldn't let that happen to me. It's about control, not control over you, control over my own life. But we're married, I said. Your life is my life. Yes and no, she said. We share a life, but we're still individuals. We still have our own fears, our own needs, our own histories. And mine includes a deep, bone-level fear of financial instability. So you saved $168,000 without telling me. I saved $168,000 while also fully contributing to our joint account, she corrected. I didn't take money from you. I didn't hide expenses. I just kept my freelance bonuses and birthday checks separate. That's it. And the $2,000 a month from Gerald's trust? That goes straight to Diane, she said. I've never kept a penny of it. You can check the account. Every transfer in matches a transfer out. I already knew that. I'd looked at the statement. She wasn't lying. What do you want me to do with this information? I asked. I want you to understand it, she said. I want you to see that I'm not hiding money to hurt you. I'm saving it to protect us. And I want you to trust that even though I kept this secret, I haven't kept anything else. How can I trust that? Because you know me, she said. You've known me for 11 years. You know how I think. You know how I operate. This isn't a pattern. It's a single exception based on a very specific situation involving a dying man and his secret partner. She wasn't wrong. Rachel wasn't a liar. She wasn't manipulative. She was cautious, methodical. She planned ahead. That's who she'd always been. I need time, I said. Take all the time you need, she said. 2 weeks passed. Life continued. I went to work. Rachel freelanced. The kids went to school. We cooked dinners, folded laundry, watched TV. We were polite, functional, but there was a distance between us that hadn't been there before. I couldn't stop thinking about the money, not because I wanted it, but because it represented something I couldn't name. A part of Rachel I didn't know existed, a part that planned for my absence, my failure, my death. I brought it up to my friend Marcus at lunch one day. We'd been friends since college. He was a divorce lawyer. He'd seen everything. So she's been secretly saving money, Marcus said, chewing his sandwich. And you're upset, wouldn't you be? Honestly? No. My ex-wife spent money we didn't have on things we didn't need and then blamed me when we went into debt. I'd take a secret savings account over secret credit card debt any day. That's different, is it? Marcus asked. Ben, your wife saved money while still contributing equally to your household. She didn't drain your joint account. She didn't hide expenses. She just kept some money separate. That's smart. That's responsible. It's also secretive. Everything in a marriage is secretive until you decide to share it, Marcus said. You probably have thoughts you've never told her, fears, regrets. Does that make you a liar? That's not the same. It's exactly the same, Marcus said. She had a fear. She addressed it quietly. She didn't hurt you in the process. Now she's told you. What more do you want? I didn't have an answer. 3 weeks after the confrontation, Diane called Rachel. I was in the kitchen when Rachel answered. I heard her voice shift surprise, concern. When? Rachel asked. Pause. Is it serious? Pause. Okay, we'll come. She hung up. Diane fell, Rachel said. Broke her hip. She's in the hospital. She needs help. What kind of help? Someone to stay with her. She doesn't have anyone else. What about her kids? They don't know about this house, Rachel said. They don't know about Gerald. She's kept it secret from them all these years. If they found out now, it would complicate things. She doesn't want that. So what does she want? She wants me to stay with her for a few weeks. Help her recover. Rachel, we have kids. We have jobs. I know, she said. I'm not saying I'll go. I'm just telling you what she asked. What do you want to do? She looked at me. I want to help her. She's been alone for 15 years. She doesn't have anyone. And I'm the only person who knows the truth. Then go, I said. Really? I'll handle the kids. You go help Diane. She smiled. It was the first real smile I'd seen from her in weeks. Thank you. Rachel left the next morning. She'd be gone for 2 weeks, maybe 3. I took vacation days. My mom came over to help with the kids. We managed. But in the evenings, after the kids were asleep, I sat alone in the house and thought about everything. About Rachel, about the money, about Diane and Gerald, and the life they'd built in secret. I thought about what it meant to love someone, to trust someone, to share a life while still keeping pieces of yourself separate. And I realized something. Rachel's secret wasn't about me. It never had been. It was about her fear, about her need for control in a world that felt unpredictable. And maybe that was okay. Maybe marriage didn't mean merging completely. Maybe it meant sharing most of yourself while keeping some parts protected, not hidden, just private. I thought about Diane and Gerald. They'd loved each other for 30 years without anyone knowing. They'd built a life in the margins. And when Gerald died, he'd made sure Diane would be taken care of, not through a will, not through a public declaration, but through a quiet trust that relied on Rachel's integrity. That took planning. That took thought. That took love. Rachel had honored that trust for 7 years without asking for anything in return. She'd sent $2,000 every month to a woman she barely knew because it was the right thing to do, because Gerald had asked her to, because Diane needed it. That wasn't the behavior of a secretive person. That was the behavior of someone who kept her promises, who followed through, who could be trusted. I called Rachel that night. How's Diane? I asked. Better, Rachel said. She's healing, slowly, but she's tough. Good. A pause. How are you? I've been thinking, I said. About us. About the money. About everything. And I think I understand now. You do? You weren't keeping secrets to hurt me, I said. You were protecting something that mattered to you, something you needed, and I can respect that. I heard her exhale. Ben, I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner. I really am. I know, I said, and I'm sorry I made you feel like you couldn't trust me with it. It was never about trust, she said. It was about me being afraid, and I'm working on that. We'll work on it together, I said. I'd like that. When Rachel came home 3 weeks later, we sat down and had a real conversation. No accusations, no defenses, just honesty. I want to keep the Silverton account, Rachel said, but I want you to know about it. I want you to have access to it. I don't need access, I said. It's your account, your safety net. I understand that now. But I want you to have it, she said, because you're right. We're married. We should share the big things. So I'll add you to the account, and we'll decide together how to use it if we ever need to. And the money for Diane? That continues, Rachel said, until the trust runs out, which will be in 23 more years. That's a long time. It is, she said, but it's what Gerald wanted, and I'm going to see it through. Okay, I said. Then we'll see it through together. She smiled. Thank you. For what? For not making this a deal breaker. For trying to understand. That's what marriage is, I said. Trying to understand. 6 months later, we took the kids to visit Diane. It was summer. Sophie and Max ran around the yard, chasing each other, laughing. Diane sat on the porch, fully recovered, watching them with a smile. They're beautiful, she said to Rachel. They're loud, Rachel said, laughing. That's the best part. I sat down next to Diane. Can I ask you something? Of course. Do you regret it? Keeping the relationship secret? She thought for a moment. Sometimes. When Gerald died, I wanted to grieve publicly. I wanted people to know what we had. But then I thought about my kids, about the questions they'd have, about the judgment. And I realized that what Gerald and I had didn't need validation from anyone else. It was ours, and that was enough. But you were alone for 15 years after he died. I had memories, she said, and I had this house, and I had Rachel checking in on me, making sure I was okay. I wasn't as alone as you think. I looked at Rachel, who was playing with the kids in the yard. She looked happy, relaxed, free. She's a good person, Diane said. You're lucky to have her. I know, I said. That night driving home, the kids asleep in the back seat, Rachel reached over and took my hand. Thank you for today, she said. For what? For coming, for meeting Diane, for understanding why this matters to me. It matters because it's part of you, I said. And you matter to me. She squeezed my hand. I love you. I love you too. We drove in comfortable silence for a while. Then Rachel said, I've been thinking about the money, the Silverton account. What about it? I want to use some of it. Not all of it, but some. For what? For the kids, for their education, for opportunities they wouldn't have otherwise. You don't have to do that. I want to, she said. I've been saving for emergencies, but maybe the best emergency I can prepare for is giving them a better future. I nodded. Okay, let's do it. She smiled. Gerald would have liked that. Yeah, I said. I think he would have. And that was it. The secret wasn't a secret anymore. The money wasn't hidden. The trust, both the financial one and the emotional one, was out in the open. We weren't perfect. We'd stumbled. We'd hurt each other. But we'd also figured it out. We'd talked. We'd listened. We'd made compromises. And we'd come out the other side stronger. Not because we'd fixed everything, but because we'd learned that some things don't need to be fixed. Some things just need to be understood. Rachel's savings account was one of those things. It wasn't a sign of distrust. It was a sign of her history, her fears, her need for control. And I could live with that. We pulled into our driveway. The house was dark. The kids stirred in the back seat, but didn't wake. Rachel and I sat there for a moment, looking at the house we'd built together, the life we'd created, the family we'd made. Ready to go inside? Rachel asked. Yeah, I said. I'm ready. We got out of the car. We carried the kids inside. We tucked them into bed. We cleaned up the kitchen. We did all the small, normal things that make up a life. And then we went to bed ourselves, together, because that's what marriage was. Not the absence of secrets, not perfect transparency, but the willingness to keep choosing each other, even when things got complicated, even when you discovered that the person you thought you knew completely still had pieces of themselves you'd never seen, even when those pieces turned out to be understandable, human, real. Rachel fell asleep quickly. I stayed awake for a while longer, thinking about Gerald and Diane, about the life they'd built in secret, about the trust they'd placed in Rachel to carry on after they were gone. And I thought about the trust Rachel and I were building now, not just in each other, but in the idea that love could be messy and imperfect and still be real. That was enough. That would always be enough.